Hey everyone, we are live with the co-founder of Zivoe, and his name is actually Thor, which I thought was actually really cool. I thought it was his like Discord handle or his online name, but his actual name is Thor. So I'm so happy and thankful that you're here today. We're excited to talk about what Zivoe is actually doing. And I want to give you a second maybe to introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, and maybe like how you got into crypto and what brought you to Zivoe.
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on today. It's always a pleasure, and you've been great to always talk to and interact with on Spaces. As kind of mentioned, my name's Thor, and I'm one of the co-founders of Zivoe. I originally got into crypto in 2017, kind of when we had that big run up. Like a lot of people, I kind of got sucked in by the price action, and then unfortunately, we had the big crash. But that really hooked me, and part of the reason that hooked me is because like a lot of folks of my generation and probably yours as well, is that we all kind of lived through the great financial crisis, and so I saw how that impacted my family and kind of what that did. And it really was the first time in my life that I kind of saw that the financial system really did not serve a whole host of people. And so that is part of kind of why I stayed in crypto. And I have been in the space ever since as a user, and then kind of got involved with the rest of my co-founders. And we kind of started Zivoe around 2.5 years ago. So it's been a great ride. It's been an interesting time to be in the space, especially as founders looking to kind of raise and bring a product to market with everything that's gone on. But we're here for the long run, and I think the best days are in front of us.
I love that, man. I love that. But let's talk a little bit more about what Zivoe is. So, how does Zivoe connect to, consumer credit markets to Ethereum for funding loans, right? How does that work?
Yeah, for sure. So, as mentioned, our mission is really all about disrupting high interest consumer lending. And we do that by connecting on-chain capital with real world borrowers. To break down how we actually do that, because that's a little bit of a mouthful and kind of one of those like buzzwordy things, is we work with an origination partner. So we have a partner business that we work with called Inclusive. And what's actually occurring is we are lending stable coins on chain to them. They are then actually taking these stable coins, converting them into fiat, and using them to fund consumer credit products. Those products are then placed into an SPV, which for people who don't know, is a special purpose vehicle, and it's just a legal entity set up to custody assets. And what this does is, let's say is Inclusive for some reason defaults on their on-chain loan to Zivoe. Well, Zivoe actually has legal rights to this SPV and can take it over, ensuring that the protocol has a level of protection. So that is the long and short of the high level of how we are actually making an impact in consumer credit markets.
I love that, and part of what is Zivoe's mission, and how does it help like underserved communities access credit, right? Because that's a really important thing. There's a lot of people out there that need help. Is there a way that Zivoe can help those maybe underprivileged people that are working, maybe 2-3 jobs that need help, paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah, so there's a really crazy statistic in the United States. So in the US, we have $250 billion in unsecured consumer loans at any given time. And these are installment loans. So we're not talking like credit cards here. We're talking someone who's borrowing like $2,000 for like a 36-month term. And a third of that market is to non-prime borrowers. And so when you talk about kind of people living paycheck to paycheck or have multiple jobs, this is kind of what you're referring to. But within that market, the really crazy thing that kind of blew my mind when I was first learning about this is roughly a third of that. So talk like $20 to $30 billion in loans at any given time actually have triple digit APRs. And so that looks like someone who's borrowing and this is a real world example that I give a lot because it's just such a good example. And there's a woman who borrowed $2,500 at a 276% APR. And she paid back over $8,000 in interest and fees over the course of 2 years before defaulting on her loan. And that doesn't include principal repayments she made.
Insane, man.
And
it's like that in Brazil too. They charge my wife's family is from Brazil. And so I hear stories about creditors and borrowers, and they charge into the hundreds of % to get a loan for stuff like that as well. It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. This is a global problem. And, I'll be a little unpolitically correct here. In certain places, people will still show up to your door to try to collect money, right? And in the US, luckily, we don't do that. But this is an issue that occurs in Brazil, like you said. It occurs in the UK and other countries in the EU and places like the Philippines. And so this is a global issue, and we want to tackle it on a global scale, but are starting in the US as it is the largest market for this stuff in the world, and it's a market we know really well.
Of course. How does Zivoe's let's start with this. How can you explain how liquidity providers earn yield by depositing stablecoins into Zivoe?
Yeah, for sure. So, like anything in lending, you are kind of getting capital at, one interest rate, and then you're lending it in another. And then there is, sometimes a spread in between there. So essentially what we have with Zivoe is we have a 2-tranche system. So we have a senior tranche and a junior tranche. Very traditional structure for people who, maybe spent some time in traditional finance. And what we allow kind of crypto users to do is anyone who is a US accredited investor or a non-US person can come to our protocol and deposit stablecoins into the junior tranche or the senior tranche. And for every stablecoin deposited, you receive a tranche token. Those tokens can then actually be staked. And when these borrowers who are taking these consumer loans repay their loans, that yield is then brought back on chain and distributed to people who are staking their tranche tokens.
So, in crypto, we have a lot of problem with hacks, and security is a big concern. What measures is Zivoe taking to make sure that the platform cannot get hacked or something malicious can happen to it?
Yeah, for sure. There's always a risk of, hacks and other things happening. And, all you can ever do is do your best job to mitigate it. And we feel like we've done that. So we have undergone 2 smart contract audits, one with Runtime Verification, who is a really well-respected auditing firm in the space, probably one of the top, 5 firms, I would say, in terms of auditing. And then we did a Sherlock auditing competition. So for those of you who are maybe not familiar with auditing competitions, Sherlock is a platform where effectively anyone can participate in an audit. So you put up a prize pool, and anyone who finds a bug receives part of this prize pool. So you get a ton of different eyes on your code. And I think the final total was we had like over 500 people participate in that audit. Like, it was actually super bonkers. Like, there's a video somewhere I posted where I was like scrolling through Discord, like with the direct conversations with people participating in it, and we had like over 100 conversations going. So that's kind of the first and foremost thing. The second part is just kind of smart protocol design. So we have, certain checks and balances built within the protocol when it comes to kind of the ability to move money, to make it, difficult from the kind of angle of a hacker to actually exploit the protocol. The third thing too, is actually a beneficial part of being an RWA protocol, is because we are taking this capital off chain and lending it. At any given time, there's not necessarily going to be a ton of capital in the protocol to be stolen. That's good. So if you think about it from like the perspective of a hacker, our kind of CTO, who's a guy named John Kornstrom, and I'm going to go maybe on a bit of a tangent here, but he built V1 of Maple Finance, and that protocol has done really well, and they've never had an exploit. But he kind of put it this way when kind of talking about it is, if you're a hacker, you're kind of looking for like the most amount of money you can get possible. And so by not having, a whole bunch of money on chain at any given time, you kind of prevent that. Because from a cost benefit analysis, like if they're looking at it, it's like, okay, if I have to put the same amount of effort into hacking this protocol as this protocol, and I get a lot more money out of this one because they have stuff on chain, that's a better route to go.
I love that, man. Very smart, very brilliant, right? That's actually what I wanted to hear, right? Keeping money off chain, limiting the risk, and hopefully the hacker goes on to something like Axie Infinity and then does, goes after them again, right, for a few $100 million. Not knock on wood. I hope they don't. I hope it doesn't happen to them again. What are the key differences between the senior and junior tranches in terms of risk and returns? So
in the event that, we have this off-chain SPV with consumer loans in it, right? In the event that the, value of these loans were to fall below the capital in the tranches and there were to be losses, the junior tranche is impacted first. So the junior tranche acts as first loss capital. And for this, they have a higher target yield. So right now, what we're looking at is a target yield of up to 10% for the senior tranche and up to 22% for the junior tranche. And we actually think, and it's early, so we're still kind of playing with some of our models right now, but we actually think we'll probably be able to get slightly better than that. But that is kind of where we're sitting right now.
All right. No, that's a good answer. And how does Zivoe manage loan defaults and protect investments of the depositors, right? Because we talked about this, right? We're not the country, the US, where we send somebody to break a leg, because they didn't pay their loan. So what measures can you guys take so depositors can get their money back?
So yeah, first and foremost, one of the reasons that we're looking to kind of work with lenders in the United States is because in the United States, you have legal recourse. So, depending on where you're operating or lending in the world, you may not really have legal recourse. And if you do, it's not necessarily efficient legal recourse. So there's been, other RWA protocols that have, lent in countries that don't necessarily have legal protections, and their counterparties have defaulted and they haven't really had an effective ability to collect for a couple of different reasons, that being one of them. So that's kind of the first thing I would touch on. The second thing I think is our team actually a little bit, and I think that's worth touching on. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're initially working with a company called Zenclusive, and we started off as one company with them and split into two in order to be fully regulatory compliant. And the thing with our team is we have decades of experience within our team in consumer lending. We've been kind of the folks on the other side of the table who have been making these high interest loans. And because of that, we know there's a better way. And our head of risk, for instance, is a guy named Walt Ramsey, who ran 2/3 of JP Morgan Chase's consumer credit risks division and took a company called Elevate Credit Public, which was one of the largest high interest consumer lenders of its kind before they were taken private again last year. Okay. And so it's a space we understand really, really well and how to underwrite and manage risk in. And so one of the things that I think sometimes RWA protocols haven't done well is they have super, super talented teams that are very technically gifted, but they don't have people that have the underwriting experience that are actually managing the portfolio risk. And they're kind of pushing that sometimes onto their users to have their users kind of decide whether or not it's worthwhile to invest in something. And for us, we don't necessarily, think that's an effective model. And so we're coming about it from a little bit of a different angle.
I got it. What is the initial tranche offering, the ITO? Is that done already, or is that still going? And what incentives does it have for early participants?
Yeah, so our initial tranche offering is essentially our liquidity bootstrapping event. So it started on August 22nd, and it's going to be ending on September 21st. And we have a little over $4.3 million in it so far. Wow. And really what this is just getting initial capital into the protocol to actually be able to go and lend with. And what we are doing for the ITO to incentivize liquidity is, as I mentioned before, same concept is you deposit your stable coins into tranches and you receive tranche tokens, which can go be staked. What we're doing for people who are also participating in the ITO, though, is we are airdropping 5% of our governance token, ZVE, to everyone who deposits during the ITO. So on September 21st, when the ITO ends, those tokens will be distributed and then they will vest out over the course of a year to everyone who participated.
Love that. And I'd imagine the higher amount of money that you're participating or offering in, the higher amount of governance tokens you're going to get for that participation.
Yeah, so the way it actually works from like a technical perspective is when you deposit stablecoins, you receive PZVE tokens. So for every stablecoin you deposit into the senior tranche, you receive 3 PZVE tokens and then 1 PZVE token for the junior tranche. And they're actually not tokens, they're points effectively because you're not receiving an on-chain token. And then what happens is at the completion of the ITO, the amount of ZVE you receive is proportional to the amount of points you have. So to your point, if you deposit more stable coins, you receive more points and you will receive a larger airdrop.
Love that. Okay, I appreciate you answering that. And then, what is a ZVE token? Right, we just talked about that. And how does the governance system function within Zivoe with that?
Yeah, for sure. So ZVE, as mentioned, is our governance and utility token. It has a fixed supply of 25 million. And the ZVE token has a couple of different uses. First and foremost, with every governance token, governance. And one of the things with Zivoe that is fairly unique is that we have given governance a fairly high degree of control over everything that is going on in the system. So governance can vote on things like, for instance, whether or not they want to give ZVE emissions to people who are depositing tranche tokens on an ongoing basis. They can vote to change the target yield returns for either of the tranches. They can vote to allocate capital to different lending lockers. So if we were looking to expand outside of the US, governance could kind of vote to do some items like that. So there's a very high degree of control. And similar to the Uniswap Uni token as well, there is a built-in fee switch as well that is turned off. But in the future, if governance elected to, that is something that could be turned on as well.
Got it. Got it. How does Zivoe's legal structure, including special purpose vehicles, protect depositors?
Yeah, for sure. So this is where, and we're going to probably post some more content about this. I think we're going to actually do like an internal podcast. I'm happy to touch on it a little bit, but
Sure.
The person who really knows about this is one of my other co-founders, Crystal, who is a regulatory compliance attorney. And you've talked to her before on kind of some different spaces. But
she's amazing.
Yeah, Crystal's great. She's been in fintech for a very long time, has been in lending for a very long time, and is kind of a crypto OG herself. So with that being said, going back to kind of how you're actually protected with this SPV and how everything works for maybe anyone who's joining in a little late. So what we're actually doing with Zivoe is we're lending on chain to our partners, Inclusive, who then takes that capital off chain and lends it to consumers. Those loans are then placed into an SPV, which is an entity just set up to actually custody some loans, and Zivoe has rights to that. So effectively, if Zinclusive were to default on their on-chain loan obligation, Zivoe has the right to take over this SPV off-chain and all of the loans within it. And then what would happen is there is going to be a designated secondary service provider. So part of the reason we're working with a lender is, there's an origination and servicing piece that needs to be done on the consumer facing part. And so we would essentially have a designated kind of secondary servicer in the event that's Inclusive doesn't meet its obligations or goes out of business or, whatever it may be. And so that gives the protocol a degree of protection that it would not otherwise have.
Hey man, even with Crystal, you did that. You did that really well. So I'm sure she's going to be very proud when she hears how you went over that. What challenges and opportunities does Zivoe face in combining traditional finance with DeFi?
There's a lot of things I could touch on that. I put it to you this way. I think there's a huge opportunity in doing it because I think this is the way we're going to see everything go. I think we've seen blockchain as a better capital aggregation layer and is more effective in a way for actually making capital allocation decisions. I think some of the challenges right now are, clearly the technology is still fairly nascent. The user experience is not always the greatest. I'm sure everyone, has some horror stories. I know I do.
I do.
And it's not the best. And so one of the things we eventually want to get to as a company is we actually want to lend directly to consumers. And, we want to be able to have them decisioned and give them a full kind of Web 2 experience. So I saw the question coming from YouTube, so I'll touch on it real quick. We wouldn't sell the SPV. We would actually just wind it down. So our secondary service provider would work with us to finish servicing those loans and effectively just wind the portfolio down. So we wouldn't sell it. But that is something you can do with an SPV, and there's kind of other things, we could get into there. Going back to why it's, difficult or kind of interesting, the user, experience or interface for crypto right now is not the best. And so that is something I think that will be a hold up in the long run for us to be able to actually do what we want to do and kind of have consumers more closely kind of touching the protocol. And it's something that we'll need to take into account. the other thing too, you know, with all transparency too, is, you know, what we're doing is, you know, on kind of, I would say, the cutting edge of RWAs. This is an asset class that people have not brought on chain before, you know, and people are sometimes skeptical of, you know, what we're kind of we believe we can do and we know we can do. And that is kind of bringing these, you know, bringing capital off chain and then bringing this yield back on chain from this asset class. And so for us, we really want to be able to prove that out to the market in the kind of 60 to 90 days after we launch. We want to be able to prove that we're, you know, capable of actually doing what we are saying we're doing, and then, you know, actually coming up with a dashboard or kind of some other items to give people transparency into what's occurring off chain. Because I feel like with a lot of RWA protocols, sometimes it's a bit of a black box. Like you put capital into it and then, you know, they'll lend it, or like people will take it off chain, but you have no idea what's going on. Like you might periodically like hear back and be like, hey, like everything's good. Like, hey, like, you know, you got some yield back. So like things seem like they're going well, but then you might hear, you know, out of the blue one day, hey, like actually they defaulted. And, you know, you just lost a whole bunch of money. And, you know, we want to try to give people a little bit more kind of insight into what's actually occurring, because I think that's a huge holdup just in general for RWA adoption, because everyone who is crypto native, you know, we all have an expectation of, you know, with blockchain, everything being super transparent, and you don't get that to the same degree with where RWAs are right now.
How do you bring Web 2 into Web 3? Like how do you bring Web 2 clients into this type of Web 3 product, right? Or do you guys have a strategy on to do that, or are you solely relying on Web 3 people to make deposits in order for that to happen?
So on the deposit side, we're really focused on individuals in Web3 because we believe there's a need for this. You know, I forget what exactly it was, but I saw something today from someone else in the RWA space, a guy named Parv, who I follow. And, you know, he kind of talked about how, you know, US treasuries, for instance, I believe this year have actually returned more than Ethereum. And so I think we're getting into a place right now with the kind of crypto market in general where we're at almost like a maturity stage, and we're not necessarily having like all of this like inflow of capital from people outside the space like we've seen in the last like 10 years. Like we're seeing institutions and stuff come in, but if you think about it from like an institution's perspective, right, and they want to deploy money in the space, they need to be able to do so at scale and in a fairly like risk effective manner. So, you know, they're not going to go putting, you know, 10 or $20 million into, you know, meme coins, or, you know, really in most cases, probably more than that. You know, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. And so there needs to be, you know, different places in crypto where capital can go that, you know, can be deployed at scale and done in a relatively risk-free manner relative to just like putting something into like meme coins, for instance. And so I think RWAs have a huge opportunity. And, you know, we've seen that with, I think, the rise of tokenized treasuries. Like tokenized treasuries have taken off massively in the last year or two because people, you know, want to keep capital on chain. And, you know, there's folks outside the US, for instance, that want to be able to get exposure to US treasuries. And even being an American, buying, you know, treasuries through your brokerage is like not the easiest thing to do. It's kind of a pain in the butt. And so we've seen massive demand for it, but that's also because treasury rates are high right now. And, you know, well, you know, who knows if the Fed is going to cut or not cut, or what's going to happen. They're likely going to cut. And I think that's the consensus. If not, maybe just hold. But the thing is, if they cut and, you know, we end up with a few cuts, you're going to see treasury yields fall, right?
Yeah.
And then so all of a sudden you have all this money that's on chain sitting in treasuries that just went from, you know, making like 5% to like something like 3%, right? And for people on chain, probably aren't going to love that. And so where does all of this liquidity go? There needs to be, you know, protocols with real world assets or real world value that liquidity can flow into. And, you know, that's part of, I think, our thesis with what we're doing. Now,
keep going. Sorry, you're in a flow.
All you, man.
No, I was going to say, you know, how does Zivoe make money, right? At the end of the day, you know, a lot of people, you know, maybe this is obvious to some, but not to others. But how do you guys make money? And are you going to be able to stay afloat through the bear market as it comes up here? You know, it's every month we pass I'd imagine I speak with Lady Trader often, and she says come fall 2025, the music's going to stop. So how are you going to get to the next market, to the next bull market through the bear? Do you guys have runway? What is the plan?
Yeah, so I mean, we have runway. We will, at some point in the future need to raise additional funding.
Yeah.
But, I think that's all kind of startups in the space. And I think we're fairly well positioned, especially with actually RWAs. So a lot of the people we talk to are actually more excited for RWAs in a way during a bear market than they are now, because now there's kind of more opportunities to trade or do other things and kind of maybe make a higher kind of return. Whereas during a bear market, you don't necessarily have the same opportunities. But RWAs in many cases are going to be fairly consistent. And one of the things that's really fascinating about this particular area of consumer lending is it actually remains pretty constant through recessions. So going back to kind of the start of our conversation, our head of risk, Walt Ramsey, who took Elevate Credit public at one point in time, in their S1 filing in 2014 or 2015, they have data on how their portfolios performed during the 2008 financial crisis. And what they actually found is that their loss rates remained steady relative to like credit cards and other places, which saw an uptick in defaults. And they actually saw, for instance, like their cost of customer acquisition, I believe, it's been a little bit since I looked at it, actually decline. And part of the reason for this, and you're even kind of seeing it a little bit now, is what happens is banks and kind of other kind of more prime lenders end up tightening their belts. So from a risk perspective, they go kind of on a risk off mode and they don't want to lend as much. And so what happens is you have customers who would maybe traditionally go to like their bank, for instance, or something like for a loan, end up going to a non-bank lender. And so everyone ends up kind of getting pushed down the credit spectrum a little bit. And so you're still able to get quality borrowers and kind of maintain a portfolio through a recession. And, that was seen through COVID, that was seen through 2008. And, there's data going back even further in the United States, which is why, to me, this is such an interesting asset class. Because there's so much data around it, we can kind of have a fairly good understanding of what will happen.
Yeah, I think globally, I saw some documents where businesses need anywhere from $2 to $5 trillion globally, and they just can't get it from banks, right? And maybe they need to create equipment and then ship it out, right? But it takes 30 days to get the money back, and businesses. Well, some of them don't make it because they're not able to get this money from the bank. So it's good that we're having alternatives. But I'll ask you one more question and then I'll turn it over to you to see if we missed anything. But why did you build this? Like, you're a co-founder. What was the reason behind you wanting to create Zivoe?
So for me, I mean, even going back to the very beginning of this, 2008, impacted my family and was really the first time that I saw that, the financial system really doesn't serve everyone. And if you look at, Elevate Credit when they were public, or you look at some of these other lenders that are publicly traded, you'd be kind of amazed at who their largest shareholders are. It's people like BlackRock. And so, you have all of these funds, for instance, where like your parents' pensions funds are probably like funding this market. And I don't think that should be the case. And there's always been, people have always kind of wanted to do like a true peer-to-peer lending model. Like for those who maybe heard of Lending Club is a company that came out in 2005. And they're still around, but their models changed. So originally when they came out, they were a true peer-to-peer lender. So they allowed people who wanted to lend to essentially come to the site, and you could see kind of a list of loans, and you could decide kind of which ones you wanted to fund, which ones you didn't want to fund, and put money into them. And that was kind of the original like peer-to-peer lender. And in a way where like a lot of people since then have kind of tried to build off of that or do other things. And what Lending Club ended up doing is just kind of going out and doing what most lenders do, which is just going and getting like a line of credit from like a Wall Street hedge fund or like a private equity firm or something, because it was easier to do that than deal with a whole bunch of individual people trying to lend. And part of the reason for that is, think about it from like a financial infrastructure standpoint. Like if you have thousands of people who are trying to lend, and then you have thousands of borrowers on the other side, and you think about it from a TradFi perspective, like you have to segregate like bank accounts and have all this like financial plumbing in between, like that's expensive and complicated to do. And so for us, the beauty of kind of what we're doing and the beauty of blockchain is, all of that expensive and kind of complicated financial infrastructure in between borrowers and lenders can just get encapsulated in smart contracts.
Yeah.
And, while the kind of system for a lot of RWAs isn't necessarily perfect, it is much more efficient, I believe, than doing that. And so for me, that kind of is what gets me really excited about this. And then, I'm really excited about the possibility as well, being able to lend directly to people as a protocol in the long term, because I think that's going to be huge if we can get there. And that's kind of what gets me up today, man.
Cool.
I love it.
And my final question would be to you is, have we missed anything super important that you feel like people should know?
I feel like we've done a pretty good job covering stuff. I know we've seen a couple, comments or kind of questions coming through from YouTube and stuff. So if you guys have any last minute questions you want to drop, happy to answer them. If not, thank you so much for joining. Could this be used for home mortgage loans? That is something maybe down the line we could look at doing. Okay, let's try to read the question there. The home loan thing is something we could explore.
I'm sorry. Let me put that back up for you. I thought you had read it. It's my fault.
No. I read that one. I was on to the second question.
Okay.
The home mortgage loans thing is something we may explore later on. There's a lot of folks in the space who are doing a really good job with kind of mortgages. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Figure Markets before, but they're offering kind of mortgages against crypto in Texas, I believe, only now still. But it is something we'd look at later down the line. One of the things for us, though, that we feel is kind of a competitive edge is the fact that we know consumer lending really well, and it's kind of our bread and butter, kind of a core competency of our team. And so, for us, we're going to start there. And, there's a huge global market of that, and we really want to address it. And then, over time, we'll kind of look at other opportunities. I think there's one more question that was maybe up.
This one?
Yeah, what problem borrowers face after lending? Okay, I'm going to assume this is kind of about people defaulting loans is how I'm going to take it. So I'll touch on that a little bit. So in lending, it's clearly really easy to lend out money, but getting paid back is always the tricky part. And that's why guys like Walter, head of risk, were able to make a lot of money at JPMorgan Chase, because they're really good at predicting who is going to repay you or who's not going to repay you. And so when you're doing this with consumers, there's a ton of analytics and stuff on the back end that's going on to kind of decision people and understand whether or not, they're someone who has a high likelihood of repaying. So, when a consumer comes and they're looking to get a loan from Zinclusive, they go through a decisioning process. They have to provide information about themselves. And then if they pass certain checks, then, we'll go out and do, pulls from credit bureaus and pull in some other kind of proprietary information, and then, run that through a decision engine where effectively you're just using machine learning to kind of come up with an outcome of whether or not you think this is a person that is going to repay you. And then what you do from a risk management standpoint, because we're going to be launching and kind of beginning to lend very shortly, is you lend a little bit, you wait and see how your credit models perform, and then you really begin to scale, and that helps you mitigate risk. So I know I'm a little bit over time, so I'm going to end it there. Guys,
you're all good, brother.
So much for having me, and definitely check us out at Zivoe Protocol. That's Zivoe Protocol on X, and you can find our Discord and our Telegram and all that fun stuff from there. And our ITO is going on until September 21st. So if you're a U.S. accredited investor or non-U.S. person, be sure to check it out.
Guys, after I'm done streaming, I'm going to post all of the links that he's talking about in the description of this live stream. So if you can't find it, if you're afraid of clicking on the wrong thing, I will make sure that everything that you need is in the description of this video as soon as it ends. I really want to thank you, Thor, for enlightening us on Zivoe. I wish you all the luck in the world. I think you guys have a good product. You're obviously very intelligent. You know what you're talking about. I've got hundreds of founders and CEOs by now, and you definitely stand out as one of the brightest ones. So I congratulate you on what you've done, and we'll see how far you can take this, man. I'd love to see Zivoe at $1 billion market cap one day.
Appreciate the time, man. And for those who are listening who haven't checked it out yet, go check out cryptosensei's Crypto Ears community. They do a ton of interviews with new projects, and it's a great place to learn about what's kind of up and coming in the space. So thank you again for having me on, man, and we'll chat soon.
All right, brother. Aloha. Thank you so much.
For sure. I just click Leave Studio. I don't want to make sure I'm doing this right.
You're good, man. I'll remove you, and then you can leave. All right. Well, hey, that was Zivoe Thor from Zivoe. That was a really great conversation. I'm going to add to the stage now. What is this? What do I call you, brother?
Satan. Hey, you call me what you want.
Yes. I'll call you that. So we have the founder here of BLU. Some of my community members are involved in this project. They asked if I could come up and interview this gentleman. And then what we'll do is we'll get into some crypto news right after. So, you know, I asked Brian if I should prepare a bunch of questions for you. He said, let's just flow with it. So what are you building? What's going on? Give us the details, man. We want to hear about it.
I'm very much so happy to be here, and to be honest, I'll do my best. I just want to do a little something about you know, the way that I'm presenting myself. I'm Satan. I'm not actually the founder nor the dev. I'm actually more of a, let's say I'm a co-face. You know, I fall into this project when it was on the Launchpad Pump Fund, and I saw what the narrative and what the community was gonna look like from the get-go, and I just got full in. So I'm here to help a little bit and be, let's say I'm the hype man. You know, I drink bong water and I do stuff crazy like saying I'm going to get bald for this market cap and all that. So I'm the crazy degens that help the devs, and I help that way. So basically.
So what is BLU?
Yes, BLU, basically, for those that are a little bit more keen to the meme coins communities and you know, the memes, the narrative, and the meta, is from Matt Fury's. It's one of the latest arts that he actually got into his X account. In 2024, he released 4 months ago a 4K, and he did it on a paint gallery on the web. And that caught devs' eyes. And since then, he's been building, you know, the brand. And we launched on the 16th of August on Pump Fund. And we've been migrated to Radium, you know, the market maker on the Pump Fund migration since 24th. So BLU, it's the newest creation. It's a dog, and he's the deep thinker of the gang. So you'll see some Matt Fury's character, you know, they're going to be crazy, you know, Pepe and all of this. But he's more on the... He's going to be there and thinking, and sometimes he's going to get you a quote that you're going to reflect upon, and you're going to be like, well, I cannot argue against that. For example, you brush your skeleton twice a day with your teeth and stuff like that. So he's very much so the deep thinker, and we're trying to implement it in the meta of Matt Fury, as there is needs for people thinking, you know, far. There is need for people thinking very close of simple things, basically. So this is BLU. This is BLU.
So what is the goal here, man? Like, what are you guys trying to do with BLU? Is this you're trying to make this the next, you know, whiff? I mean, are you guys trying to 50 million, 100 million? Like, what is the actual goal here? And how many people do you have working on this behind the scenes?
Appreciate the question. That's a very good one. Yeah, so basically the goal of BLU is to get into the blue chip status. It's got to start from the community and the team. We're 11 workers. You know, there is the dev, there is the people that are more analytic, are more raids, are more community memes, and we form the BLU Master Chef that we called ourselves. And since there we built from the community, then we really much so want to get the blue chip status, and we know that it's a hard route to follow. You know, you got to build from the ground up, basically, and it's all about, you know, getting that cult-like community. So to do so, we are building narratives, we are doing more arts, and we are building BLU on every socials, really, to really build that relevancy and that brand that a meme coins actually needs, to not just be one of those that will pop up, have a lot of volume, people will play on it, but it will be forgotten probably. Yeah. So we are doing a BLU too. We have YouTube channels, we have the Reddit, and we're going on X, and we're really much so connecting to the spider web that is Web3.
Got it. So I know some you know, I don't want to call them meme tokens, they're community tokens. I know some community tokens are building out other use cases for the tokens, whether they're trading bots or whatever else. Is there plans to do stuff like that? I mean, what can you share with us maybe that you shouldn't be sharing with us, that people maybe here will be like, hey man, this sounds real good, I might want to pick some of this up?
Perfect. Well, I've got confirmed things to say, of course, and I'll see for the unconfirmed. But for the confirmed things, basically, we are very much so not on the path of exclusivity. We do believe that a nice portfolio of meme coins will bring more, chances of revenue to the investors and the community that are in it. So what we did is actually connect and do work on the ground up of organic connections. And since the Pump Fund launch, we collabed with Mutant Boys Club, which is another Matt Fury's community and team, and they are amazing. So we are collaborating with them at the moment, and the dev, Bird Dog, that developed a coin flip basically bot on Telegram, and he made sure that we could use it by customizing it for the Blues needs. So that's one of the utility of this. Basically, meme coins are a gamble, but it's also an adventures as well. And the coin flip adds another dimension of gambling. People can take their blue tokens and straight challenge other people in the community for a half and a half chance of tails or heads and win more blue tokens, as well as being a way for the coin flip to also grab 1% as rake back to the marketing wallet. And there's also 1% for the service provided by this collaboration, basically.
And now is this blue, what we're looking at on the screen here, 80K market cap, 27K liquidity?
Exactly. This is blue right now on Dex Screener. We are on Dex Screener since 24th of August.
Got it. Let me just share this with the audience. So if anybody's interested in going to the right token, there is the link for the Dex Screener for the right token. It is on Solana. What else can you tell me, man? Like, what else do you want to share about this? The time is yours, man. Please.
I appreciate that very much so. And about the coin flip, this is the first of many of what we want to bring as a utility to really make so activity in the chat and link people. The dev is actually working on a tournament kind of coin flip, so people can start with a smaller bet size, but work out to a bigger pot. So this is just ways for people to play the token. But we're also very much so focusing on the narrative to implement the brand and the narrative of Blue into the Matt Fury. So we are actually doing some connections right now, and we're pulling, the organic, nice people that are devs or, communities members that are very much so fan of Matt Fury's. And the plan is to, it's got to start with the community. It's got to start with, getting the good links, the good tools, having a nice portrait to learn from. So this is why we appreciate the MBC. We actually saw them in the chart. They're number one at the moment. They're doing a very nice job. So we're learning from the goods, the bad of everywhere. And this is how we see it a little bit of as school. We started from the bottom. We have to learn everything. We have to build everything. And since it's meme coin, it's all about community. So this is what we are focusing on. We are focusing on finding people that have interests, that have skills, that have a needs for something more in their life in this community. And once we connect with them in the community, they can take that position, either rating, either creating memes and arts, and pulling all of that into the social of Blue, basically. So this is actually this is what we focus on, as well as the normal marketing stuff.
So Brian asks, what are some of the big challenges that you guys have faced so far, and how have you overcome them?
Yes, I love that question. Thank you, Brian. So basically, I would say that it's the launchpad. It's getting started from nothing to having something, in this community of non-fungible token. Pump Fund, we've been launched on the 16th of August, and we've been in that for 7 days. We had to fight literally like a trenches PvP. The guys and the bad actors that don't necessarily want coins to go well, they want their capitals growing, basically. So we had snipers and all of that, and we had to connect with the wallets, basically, and do the work of figuring out who's safe, who's good, how do we get them on board so they're actually invested in the long term. And it made so that it was 7 days of non-sleeping, just trying to figure out numbers and charts and wallets and linking that to actual humans in order to build a very strong floor in order to be ready for the next push for the migration. So it was 7 days of that. We had to pull and fight through the dumps and the ATH dumps and all of this in order to have a stronger floor. And that was the biggest of challenge. I actually had my brain so fried on the day of migration that I went to sleep crying, and I'm not ashamed of it. Every members of the team worked for 7 days straight. That was a challenge. And we're not done because it's not easier, but it was one of the best challenge, the hardest challenge, the 7 first days. Pump fun.
So you guys have been through it all, right? You know, most, you know, I was in a meme coin craze for a bit, right? Because there was nothing was going on, and you know, we're making some money here, we're losing some money there. But you know, what is Blue's future, right? What do you guys want to take this to? Do you guys want to be a Brett? I mean, are you guys going to have mascots and advertisements everywhere? Like, you know, like what's the marketing plan for the token, and how are you going to get it into more people's hands?
That's a great question. I thank you for coming back to it. Sometimes I ramble and I lose myself. So getting back to the real,
we're the same people, brother. Me and you are the same people.
Love
all
good. This is exactly. I'm so happy to be here. And now I'm gonna focus on this question. Basically, we do want it Blue to be seen as a Brett, you know, seen as one of the top dogs in the meme coins industry. But for doing so, we're building the community, but we also have plans. Myself, as a gambler, I've been creating content, you know, I've been doing sponsorship with Casino, e-gaming Casino, and this is just one of the things that I would love to see. And of course, you got to get on centralized exchange. So this is our goal. We're getting the connections to get there, either, you know, organically or by pulling funds in order to get listed or do some partnership with centralized exchange. And it's very much so what we do every day, doing some marketing, some trending push, and getting on every socials to have the highs and attention market locked and loaded on Blue. But at a certain level, we're gonna get to I like to say that Pump Fun was a level, and now we're at the second level where it's very much still developing the cult-like community. This will help us do our marketing jobs and connections and relevancy of the brand of Blue in order to be able to fall back to a third level, which is, you know, centralized exchange and more utility base out of. I've got Casino that would like to have a new token. You know, they got Pepe from just people getting on the site and gambling with Pepe, and with the craze that some meme coins, when they get to a certain level, it's free marketing for that. So getting deals of people using Blue on a Casino or any other thing. I say Casino because we're gamblers, most likely when we are in the meme coin. So I know it's gonna go straight to some ears. But you know, using Blue and having some bonus deals and all of that, this is just one of the ways to bring more utility once you're out of the centralized exchange. What we're trying to do basically is focus on communities that are going to be here for the long term. And those communities, it's to listen, it's to take feedback, and also get our own far-fetched ideas into places in order to have more than just, you know, memes and a community. Because yes, we're betting on something that, let's say, it's not physical, you know, it's on the blockchain of Solana for Blue. And we have to bring values that are actually in the real world to this coin, to the holders, investors, and the communities, basically. And this is where we're headed.
How's the liquidity locked up? How's it kept safe, right? Because, you know, is there somebody also that has, you know, 60% of the supply that can just dump and just destroy the coin? Walk us through kind of the safety measures that are in place so people feel more comfortable with Blue.
Absolutely. We actually have, you know, this is from Pump Fun. We had the team as a first floor, and it was about 40K market cap before we then was able to come, I will say, connect with the others that would had over that supply and exchange of the liquidity. Since we migrated on Radium, now with this market maker, it makes this whole job easier. has, price impact and all of this with the liquidity and the supply still left in tokens, it's going to be easier to control the next buys. And for the buys that happen, the people that are holding, let's say, over or around 1%, what we did is we are doing something, we call them blue chat. Basically, it's, the contributors, it is the blue whales, and we are doing verification processes with them in order to offer them the status of being in the community, being blue chat. So around 1%, when we can confirm that who they are is also the wallet, and this is our way of not locking the liquidity, but at least if there is something, some feedback, or we see a wallet doing something, maybe in feedback of what happened, what is not happening, we can discuss with this person, this group, and actually make sure that the investors that are in and verified are happy with what happened, with what will happen, and they have the possibility to do so, anonymous, except the group, the others, they have the tag if they want, but they can keep their anonymity. So it's a way for them to ensure that their investment is going the way that they intend to. So it becomes clear for them that they are safe to hold. And this is just making sure that the floor holders, those that have a certain amount of tokens, will be happy and stay invested. So it's safer for new investors as well to come in. And this process is growing. We're about 43 members in the blue chat, actually. And we're still connecting every day. We're doing announcement, and we're doing, offers, like they can control the VC, control, if they want to start a raise and all of this, basically. So this is just our step in this current part of the level in order to ensure that people can be safe and they see blue chat. They can connect with them if they want in the chat, and they're active every day. So this is one of the protection we have at the moment, still growing. And when we're going to go on centralized exchange, or, when we're going to go into more, let's say, tier level 3 options, where we'll be able to lock and do more stuff for utility, that's when we're going to be able to announce. But what we did, we burned also 20 million token on unpun fund, so the value of the price per coin can be a little better, and it was from dev wallet. So it was a way for us to not sell or not distribute, but really much so cut the so the bubble maps of the people. They see that the more we go, we are ready to do more burns. At this moment, it's more where we're going, but locked liquidity or supply is also planned, but more later on. Basically, I don't have an ATA for a date, if that makes more sense.
No, I got you. I've shared the deck screener, I've shared the Twitter, and I've shared the what is that? I shared the Twitter. What did I share here? Hold on. I shared the
I
Twitter.
hope it was not from your history.
Website. It was the website. No, I took it off. I took it off. What's it called? I took it off deck screener. So you got the deck screener there. If you want to check it out, take a look. I have the here. Let me just give you the full deck screener, guys. So it's a little bit easier here for you. So if you want to take a look at this yourself, please do. Understand that meme coins have an extremely high risk, guys. It does take a community. It does take an army. It does take, diamond hands. And, is there anything else that you would like to share about Blue and what's going on with it behind the scenes, or anything else that you want to tell us before we end here today?
Yes. I could just finalize it on the fact that we are actually working to get more KOL, but organic one, not the one that asks for supply or large amount of supply, in order to bring more eyes, in order to bring more potential investors. But the more we go, it's still going to hold. We hold and we show that the chart is strong, because we are going to show that way that the investors we actually secured and are connecting with us are there to stay. And from that, it's going to be less of a gamble, when they enter on a certain, let's say, legs. It's going to be safer at every turn. So what we say is, with Blue, take your time, do your search, let your gut feeling do the thing that it needs to do as well, and we're going to be there either way in a couple next months and even years, because that's the plan for Blue.
I love it, brother. Hey, well, thank you for coming and sharing your dream and what you're working on. And we need more people like you in the space that have good vibes, that are building, that are trying to create something that will not only help themselves, but they will help other people. So I appreciate you sharing all of that stuff with me. I wish you the best of luck. I actually hold a little bit of blue because Brian told me about it. So, you know, we'll see what happens, brother. You know, well, hopefully all boats will rise.
Hey, I'll buy you a drink on a nice set of restaurant if one day we really get there, my friend. It's gonna be my offer. But also for the people watching, when you find people offering values and knowledge like cryptosensei, hit that subscribe button and don't let go.
I really appreciate that. We're almost at 30,000, man. And
hell, let's get it.
I used to remember when I used to make videos a few years ago when I started the channel, and I used to get like 10 people watching, 20 people watching, 30 people.
I'm sure you were happy, man.
Even I was then. I was like, you know, I always thought, I was like, is this worth it? I was like, you know what, man, I'm so passionate about it. I'm just going to keep growing it. And now we're almost at 30,000. And who knows, you know, with the bull run hitting and people coming back, maybe we hit 100,000 by the end of the next year. And that's my goal and my dream. And if I could do that, I would be really, really happy. So, hey, man, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Wish you the best. And I look forward to having you back on for some updates when you can get them to us.
Appreciate you, my friend. It was a pleasure to be here.
Aloha.
Bye-bye. Aloha.
All right, guys, man, 2 back-to-back great interviews. If you're not loving this, I don't know what's going on with you. Make sure that you're liking the video so more people are sharing it. If you can share it, let's get into some crypto news here before I pass out. All right, so share screen. Let's go here. So we're going to start with here. So Ripple co-founder signs letter endorsing Kamala Harris. So I thought this was pretty interesting here. It looks like it was Chris Larson is endorsing Kamala Harris. So I don't know if Ripple's playing both sides, but hey, you know, there's multiple reasons, right? I think as people, I think as people, you know, we vote one way. We look at one thing and we're like, that's why I'm voting, right? I think as Americans or as Canadians or whatever it is, if you're in a democratic country where you can vote, you need to look at everything the person's going to bring to the table, right? And it can't just be about crypto. It can't just be about one thing. I would love for crypto regulation to happen before the end of this term, so it's not just about a crypto conversation in the election. I would love for that to happen. And hey, well, hopefully it will. Just in companies have grown their Bitcoin holdings by 587% over the past 4 years. That is insane. We did have a great conversation with Zivoe. I will have all those links for you as soon as we're done. But check out, Bitcoin is under $54,000. It is just falling from the sky. Whoever shorted Bitcoin here made a ton of money. Also, too, Morgan Stanley allocated a percentage of Counterpoint Global Fund to BlackRock BTF. So it looks like they're all getting in, guys. All the institutions are in and they're wanting in. And then MasterCard launches Euro non-custodial Bitcoin and crypto debit cards. They have over 100 million merchants, which is pretty freaking insane. And then here is the other article about it. This happened just September 6th. I think, what is this? This is today. This is today's news, guys, right? Really big. They added Bitcoin and I believe Ethereum. So we'll see how all of this goes here really quickly. I did want to put out a big warning here. The Trump team, the Suns are putting out a DeFi platform, but there's a few problems here, okay? One problem is they're going to own 70% of the tokens. So, you know, I know you're going to want to buy into this if you are a Trump fan. If you're a MAGA fan, I'm sure you could make some money in the very beginning, but you are going to get dumped on harder than anything you've ever thought possible. For a project to hold 70% of the supply, you need to watch out. You need to be very, very careful. I would get in at the beginning, try to make your money back, your initial, and then hold the moon back and see if they actually don't sell. But you know, when asked, 70% of the 70% of the allocation to insiders is high. One source of advisors of the project says such matters. Replied, "Dude, laugh my ass out. Nice joke, sir." I don't know, man. Just be very careful. But also too, I saw this. I'd have to, re-verify this, but Donald Trump's crypto project copied code from hacked app, report says. So if you're a billionaire, guys, I don't understand why you're just not going out and hiring a company to go write your software for your code, but whatever you wanted to do. I'm not a big fan of this X being banned in Brazil. This kind of frustrates me because, I know since Elon took over, X, Twitter has been kind of a little bit of a shit show. But this has to do with free speech. And the opposition, the person that's currently in power there, doesn't want to lose power. And, when you share information through Twitter, more people have it, and they are banning it, which is pretty insane. There's also keeping Elon Musk's aircraft and cars, which is pretty insane. Ripple USD stablecoin could be issued within weeks and not months, which is pretty cool. Ripple has been gathering licenses all over the country. I'm sure they're going to cover all 50 states, which is going to give them a lot of power. And remember, Ripple and SBI Group, Brad Garlinghouse, they have a lot of power in Japan. The SEC has until I think is October 6th to decide if they're going to appeal the court ruling. Personally, I don't think they're going to. I made a video about this. It'll come out in just a few days. Japan's big three banks, MUFG, Mizuho, and SMBC, plan to use stablecoins for cross-border payments in Japan. I don't know if they're going to be using a Ripple stablecoin, or if they're going to create their own stablecoin on the Ripple network, or if they're just not going to use it in general. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see it. Also, a lot of things happening in AVAX. I want to play this video for you.
Okay, so Avalanche 9000 is all the...
Wait, hold on. Oh, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, I'm doing it right.
Hype right now. Everybody's talking about it. It's the biggest innovation happening in the crypto space in 2024 and beyond. And I want to break down what it includes, how it works, and what it's going to change going forward. So Avalanche 9000 is really a whole different architecture in a sense. It still has the same components, but it's making everything stitched together more efficiently and more easily. So right now in the Avalanche ecosystem, you have something called subnets, which subnets are kind of on the side. They plug into the C chain on Avalanche, which is the primary chain. And it's a little bit hard to get a subnet up right now. It requires a lot of technical abilities, and it's not very user-friendly. So with the launch of Avalanche 9000, it changes all of this. So instead of creating the subnet, you're going to create an L1, which is easier to spin up. The UX is going to be much, much better. And it's going to allow the users to kind of fragment onto these different L1s, but every chain still speaks to each other. Whereas when you think about Ethereum, for example, you have these L2s, and the fragmentation actually hurts the user experience. So Avalanche is trying to solve those problems by allowing these L1s to speak to each other without losing any of the users in the middle. So if you think about the future of Avalanche, it essentially is going to be made up of all these different L1s that are doing different things. And they can specialize in those different things because they can tailor the user experience to match the framework that they need. So for example, a government tool might not need the same capabilities as a video game. So in this case, the video game can create their own L1 on the side, and the government tool can create their own L1 on the side, but they can customize it to their user needs. So this is pretty much how the internet works today. We have these things called applications, and they could customize their database and customize the user experience. They have full control over the product that they're releasing to their audience. And this is essentially what Avalanche is trying to solve. Instead of pushing everybody into the same rules and the same fees and the same scaling issues, they're saying, hey, let's break this up. Let's have independent L1s that also can communicate amongst each other and allow the whole ecosystem to grow in a way where it doesn't hit these scale limits. So that's essentially what Avalanche is trying to solve with Avalanche 9000. And I think it's going to be a huge success. So what does that mean for the price? Should we see a big increase in price going forward? Well, we can take a look at the model that we built. So we built a custom model for Avalanche, and it's been trading in and out of Avalanche since the beginning of time. And what we can see over the last 6 months is it's mostly been sitting out of Avalanche. And the reason being is because we're in a downtrend and we're not getting a lot of bullish momentum behind the price. However, if the model detects bullish momentum, I think we could start to see.
All right, they're just trying to sell a model at the end there. Remember, trillions of dollars are coming into stablecoins over the next 5 to 10 years. I honestly, I think the number could be 30, 40, 50 trillion dollars over the next 5 years. Honestly, once you start getting banks to tokenize all of their value inside, you have about 22 trillion dollars in the US and the money supply. You have about 50 trillion globally. You know, imagine bringing that on chain, right? It's just going to be truly insane. Also, Uniswap just surpassed 11 million monthly active users, which means more people are using crypto. This is actually a 10x from a year ago, which is insane. People are learning. Guys, if you need help, growing in crypto, listen, we have a free 30-day trial for Cryptonaires, okay? There are so many amazing people inside our community from all over the world, and they're all looking for the next big thing. I highly recommend that you at least take it up on the free 30 days. If you hate us, you can leave after a week. You can leave after 29 days, whatever it is. But if you come in, you find value, you start learning, you start growing, and you start getting access to things that you can't get yourself, that's powerful. And I really hope to see it around the community. I really do. I'm going to go ahead and just post this here just because if I don't talk to you about my own community, I'm not doing it right. All right, let's keep it going, my beautiful people. All right, so let's just take a look at this, right? Earth Vista, I gave you this last Sensei chat, right? This was at $13 million. This is I gave you 100% return almost. If you came to the last Sensei chat and you bought this when I went over this with you, right, which was 3 days ago, you would be up 100% on your money, right? 100%. I posted this in Alpha Sensei. I did this in Sensei. I talked about this for like 20 minutes in Sensei chat. You have to come to these chats if you want to make money in crypto, right? Listen, I spend all of my free time, all of my time trying to understand the crypto market, getting alpha from people. This is a good tweet thread to better understand Vista, or you can go back and watch the Sensei chat I did last week. Either one is going to help you better understand what's happening. There's going to be $16 billion worth of stablecoins hitting the market here in Q4 2024. This could kick off a major utility bull run. Be ready, guys. DCA right now, that's the best way to do this. First spot Ethereum ETF in Australia is coming soon, which is actually really cool. Love to see that. And that's it, guys. I mean, you know, I had the 2 interviews. I had some quick updates that I wanted to go through. You know, I'm going to take some time off this weekend. You know, I have to, I turned 40 actually on Friday. Not this Friday, next Friday, on Friday the 13th. I'm flying over and my friend's getting married in San Diego. I'll be in San Diego, so I won't be doing a chat then. But you know, I wish you all the very best from the bottom of my heart. I want you all to succeed. And you know, if I can do anything to help you grow in crypto, please send me a message. I can't loan you $1 million, right? I can't loan you money. But if you have a question, if you need help, you know, if there's something within my power that I can do to help you, please reach out. All right. I know a lot of us deal with different issues with pain, mental illness, whatever it is, right? I'm not a therapist, but I'll talk to you. You know, I have a few people that I talk to in the background that deal with some similar things that I deal with. And, you know, I put a post about this out a few days ago. And, you know, it's hard. You know, it's hard when you deal with pain daily. It really gets to you. It really, really gets to you. And what brings me joy is coming to these chats and trying to educate everybody and trying to help people grow in the crypto space. And, you know, if you are suffering out there and if you need help, please reach out. All right. All right. I'm going to end it there, guys, before I start going really too crazy here. But I love you. Thank you for being here. All 172 of you. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I'll see you on Tuesday. Aloha.